Today, I'm being joined by Julian Tollast, who's the head of Masterplanning and Design at Quintain and is currently heavily involved in one of London's most significant developments in Wembley Park. I'm really excited to talk to you because I've actually always been interested in placemaking, but Wembley is such a huge urban regeneration project. I was just wondering if we could start by maybe talking a little bit about some of the things you found challenging or exciting in terms of designing such a varied scheme.
Wembley, I mean, we're very lucky at Wembley because it's a name that everybody knows around the world. This fantastic advantage that everybody had heard of Wembley, but they'd probably heard of Wembley because of the big events. The stadium only has 35 major events a year. What we were trying to do was work with the London Borough of Brent to find a way of turning Wembley Park from a sort of a 35 days a year place into a 365 day a year place, not just for leisure and events, but fundamentally as a place to live, to work, to shop, and also have a great occasions once in a while.
And so how have you managed to sort of create a sense of community there?
We started with the arena back in 2006. So the first master plan permission we had was in 2004, but we did actually start by refurbishing and reorientating Wembley Arena. So it's a grade 2 listed building. We sort of turned the front door around. It was sort of facing away from the stadium, and it now faces the sort of the heart of Wembley Park. And that was the first part of the building we did. So that opened in 2006. Then the new stadium, I say new in inverted commas, opened in 2007, and then our first residential building opened in 2008. So we, since 2008, have almost been sort of finishing a building every 1 or 2 years. So I think, in terms of how you make a community, that there's communities within buildings and on floors within buildings.
Yeah.
But outside of the buildings, I think probably one of the most significant moments we had, we have created opportunities for employment, either through construction or through the retail work. But it was probably around about 2014 or so, there was a building we had left over at the Greenwich Peninsula project. It was like an old Richard Rogers designed temporary pavilion building from the Millennium exhibition. So we actually moved it to Wembley, and we located it in a site just off Olympic Way, just north of the new Brent Civic Centre. It had yellow steelwork. It was in the yellow car park, so it got nicknamed the Yellow Pavilion. We literally kind of dry lined it, used part of it for our master plan consultation space, but 2/3 of it, we got a person in from a local community centre, and they just started to run community nights. So that Yellow Pavilion Mark 1, as we might call it, that lasted for a year. And at the end of that, we had a clearer idea of what it was required as a sort of physical community pavilion. And then we fitted out another space, which became the Yellow Pavilion as its sort of second incarnation. And then all of that was used to inform the design and fit out of the final version, which we opened in 2018. But it's been a fantastic community resource, and it is used really, really extensively, not just by people who live at Wembley Park, but people from the surrounding area. And we are just in the process of briefing the next one. And that's in the northeast corner of the master plan.
Oh, really nice. Well, you obviously recently just rebranded your Quintain living arm as well. I think it's going to be one of the biggest BTR sites in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, I think certainly under a sort of single ownership. It is. I mean, when the planning permission at Wembley Park now is for a total of about 8,500 homes.
Wow.
We've probably built about 4,000 so far. And yeah, the rebrand to Quintain Living just helps to sort of keep everything under that one umbrella of Quintain, all part of the Wembley Park site.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been so much change this year in terms of how people live, where people work. I guess, how are you going to sort of look at that going forward? Have you sort of got any changes in mind or things you're going to have to factor in?
I think the design of our buildings has been robust, and it's worked well during the sort of the changing arrangements during the various different lockdowns. Possibly the biggest change we've noticed. I mean, obviously we haven't had the big events there, but what we have noticed is that the people who do live at Wembley, they are spending more of their own time at Wembley. Particularly the restaurants and the food and beverage unit. A lot of them have created more outdoor seating and dining spaces. As you arrive at Wembley Park and you walk down Olympic Way, it's actually been quite busy because Box Park has outdoor seating. the fantastic Bread Ahead Bakery does, and we've actually opened the first pub in Wembley. The White Horse pub is now open, and I did manage to enjoy one lunch there, just in the non-lockdown. Yeah, so in some ways, probably the biggest change is that we've seen more people there more of the day, enjoying more of the public realm and open spaces that we've been creating. Our Quintain living teams work really hard, both obviously to attract new residents, but also to welcome them and welcome them into not only into their flat, but into their building and their community. So the Quintain living team run an awful lot of events. It could be cookery classes, it could be baking classes with the Bread Ahead Bakery School, cocktail making, etc., etc. I've even been known to do a quiz night for the residents every other month. They don't know what my day job actually is. When I'm chatting to them over a sort of beer and pizza beforehand, and I casually ask, "Oh, so where do you live?" And they say, "Well, I've just moved into Alameda. It's great. It's overlooks Arena Square on one side and the stadium on the other." It's just really, really lovely to hear the residents' direct feedback to it through those sort of community building events.
Okay, we're actually coming to the end of the episode, so I thought if it's okay with you, we'd finish on a couple of quick fire questions. So, of the developments that you've worked on, what so far has been your favourite?
Now this is a tricky question. At Wembley Park, I think my favourite one is the one that we're literally a quarter of the way through building, which is the Olympic steps.
Okay.
But you'll have to come back next year to see that finished. In my career as an architect, I was very lucky. I used to work for Terry Farrell and Partners before joining Quintain. And I was fortunate enough to work on the redevelopment over Charing Cross Station. It's called Embankment Place.
Oh wow!
And I'm still as proud of that today as I was when we completed it in 1991.
Okay, amazing. And if you weren't doing your current role, what would you be doing?
My colleagues would be saying, chair of a civic society objecting to planning applications coming in the local area. I would like to think that, I would be spending as much time as I could associated with the communities that I live in or work in.
Yeah.
It probably would involve the outdoor world, the natural environment a little bit, maybe a bit of tour guiding, and there'd probably be a map in there somewhere.
The final one, what do you see being the main change across the industry over the next 10 years?
I think we have seen, probably in the last 9 months, as many changes as we might have otherwise seen in like a 9-year period. I think the embracing of technology, home working as a complement to sort of working in the workplace. So I think our CEO described a format of working of what he kind of called the 2-2-1 format. It's not a 5-a-side football formation. It's sort of this idea of two days in the workplace, possibly 2 days, remote workplace, and 1 day as a sort of flexible space. So I think it'd be interesting, as we move into 2021 and as the vaccines succeed, and I'm ever the optimist, I think it'd be interesting to see, to what extent people just go straight back to the old world order, and to what extent they keep the good bits of the new world order.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So you can listen to more episodes of Take 10 with Colliers on all of the usual places, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And to find out who will be talking to you next, please check out our LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram.